Okay, I have the great pleasure today of speaking to Mark Ainsworth. Mark began his working life in the office at the local abattoirs in Traralgon after quitting his traineeship as a draftsman in 1985. And an unexpected closure of this business saw a career change into another tough industry, the world of debt collection. Here, he initially was appointed branch manager of the Lawrence & Co. in Morwell, but his progression in the company saw him progress to taking on a national role as a group business manager at Lawrence & Co. He did that for quite some time, but him and his wife began their own debt collection business in November 2001 in Traralgon called Credit Collect. And this was a successful business, which ultimately was purchased by one of the largest, biggest debt collecting agencies in Australia. In August of 2017, Mark decided to step away from the corporate world and full-time work. But however, Mark was drawn to an advertisement for a program director for the Gippsland Community Leadership Program. The role was extremely appealing as it was part-time and involved two things he was really passionate about: Gippsland and leadership. Mark describes his current role as the best job in the world, working with passionate Gippslanders who want to make real, meaningful difference to their communities and those around them. Welcome, Mark.
Thanks, Franco.
Yeah, the best job in the world.
Sorry?
It's the best job in the world.
Yeah, I'm lucky, mate. I get to meet new people every year that come through the program, and they're passionate and they care about Gippsland, and it's a lot of fun.
Oh, fantastic. Mark, people around the country are now adapting to it, how they're going to evolve in these new changes regards to daily life caused by COVID-19. So how are you and your family, and more broadly your local community, experiencing coping with all of this?
Well, I think there's a couple of elements to it. Certainly, I look at it, it's great to have the family all home together. I think, I said to someone this morning, it's the first time I reckon in a long time that we've had 5 meals together as a whole family. I had a daughter at university and another one in the workforce, and my youngest still at school. So not often we get the whole family together to have 5 nights in a row. It's probably a bit of a treat, I think.
Yeah, so it's that connection, isn't it? That just
Most definitely.
You think you probably found that across a range of families. Yeah.
Has it
impacted on you personally from a business point of view? Is it?
Yeah, well, certainly we working from home and having to take our program, which is very much an experiential type program where we get together, take it online. So we're just working through that. But I think it's an exciting time. It brings new opportunities and new ways to present our content.
Yeah, that's right. And from a community perspective, like what are you hearing? What are you seeing?
Look, I think it's an opportunity for us all to take a collective deep breath as well. Think about what's important to us. Looks like majority of the community are adhering to government regulations and requirements. It's always a small proportion of the community that thumbs their nose at it. But I think collectively, everyone's doing what they need to do and I'm being told to do. And, business is struggling out there, definitely, especially, restaurants and cafes and organisations that need retail that need foot traffic. But unfortunately, that's just part of the collateral damage at the moment.
Yeah. I guess for a community like that would be in East Gippsland or in the East, in a sense, it hasn't been a great time for a community that's been impacted by drought, bushfires, and now COVID-19 on top of it. So it's a sense of how do people make sense of that.
I look at it, definitely a double whammy there. But there's some positives come out of it. Certainly, there's good opportunity for primary producers maybe to get a little bit back because people have certainly got to continue to eat, and we've seen what's happened at the supermarkets of late. Certainly some of those industries that are struggling, logistics and primary producers, I think may see some benefit out of this.
Yeah, and I guess how do you talk about that amongst yourselves? Is that a positive? Is that the positive, sort of perspective on it, or is this, is this Mark's perspective? Do you think that there are other people sharing that view? Or?
Yeah, I think so. Farmers are pretty positive people. They go through a lot of hard times, so I think they can see the positives in adversity. So I think they're pretty resolute sort of guys and families and They work together and they work hard. So they'll just take it in their stride like they have with everything else that's been thrown at them over the last few years.
Yeah, I guess in some ways it's sort of the because of the scale of it and the impact of it, it's sort of unprecedented and it's immediate, isn't it? In some ways, the way the announcements have been made.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think the biggest concern, Franco, is that that the 5 victims get forgotten in this whole process. I think that we've got to be really mindful of that, and government's focus is now being taken away from the fire affected areas to a certain extent. So as a community, especially a rural community, we need to be mindful of that and continue to support everyone in the East Gippsland region.
Yeah, so there's that sense of not being forgotten, not being, and there's a focus actually, people are still struggling with that. Yeah, absolutely.
100%. We were made aware recently of a small pocket of people up in Far East Gippsland that really hadn't had any support at all up until the last week or so. So we just need to be conscious of that. And East Gippsland is a really big area, and to make sure we got everyone covered, it's not an easy job.
Yeah, yeah. So what's happening with that community now? Like, in a way, tell me a little bit about that story. How did you find out about them? And
well, it's actually I'll do a little bit of work with Gippsland Farmer Relief, who for many years now have been looking after farmers in drought and supplying them with food hampers and some health any health requirements that they might have, be it physically or mentally. And they were made aware by just their network that there was a small pocket. So last week they got 2 semi-loads of goods taken up to them.
Oh, wow. That's quite amazing. Yeah. What was the relief on their faces when they got that? I mean,
yeah, well, I wasn't there personally, but I think they're pretty happy to just know that someone cares about them and they haven't been forgotten.
Yeah. What do you reckon we can learn from that experience of East Gippsland around the bushfires and particularly around the drought that gives us a sense of what needs to happen going forward? It's a bit different, isn't it?
It's a really good question, and I actually been speaking about this a little bit with some counterparts recently. One of the things with the fire, and we're all guilty of this, especially when you're not directly affected by it, is that we want to help, and we want to help immediately. And what I've learned over the last few months, talking with the people that have been directly affected, is that some of them just need some time to process what's happened. And they don't need people in their face throwing stuff at them. We probably need to ask what they want more than assume what they want. And I think I'm seeing exactly the same with COVID-19. There's some great online content being out there in the marketplace, but we're having seminars and webinars and a lot of online content thrown at us. And again, I think it's time for us to just put it out there, but let people pick it up when they're ready for it, rather than thinking everyone needs it right now. So I reckon that's one of the biggest takeaways from the fire, is that people need their space and need the process.
Yeah, I really like what you're saying there. It almost like what it tells me a little bit, if I'm hearing this correctly, is a sense of that people have got their own internal coping mechanisms, don't they? And and sometimes when you give them too much of support or overt support or information, that it sort of hampers their capacity naturally to deal with what's going along with them. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. Talking to one of the small communities in East Gippsland, they said that no one knew where they were until before the fires. Now everyone knows where they are, all over the world. And they're not used to that. So they're not used to people coming into their town, the numbers that they don't know. So they're struggling with that in some cases. And that's why I think we just need to give them a little bit of breathing room.
Yeah, it's a really good observation, I think. So as the program director of the Gippsland Community Leadership Program, so this year East Gippsland was one of the focus of your 5 community leadership programs. Can you tell us a little bit about the GCLP?
Yeah, with Gippsland Community Leadership Program has been going this way since 1996. celebrating our 25th anniversary next year. So the program is really experiential. It's not your typical leadership program where you have the same people from the same industries. We try to get as much diversity within the program as we possibly can. So the last 2 years, we've had 27 people in the program. They come from anywhere between 18 and 20 different towns within Gippsland, all different industries. I think this year we have 16 different industries within our program. People ranging from 24 to late 40s, from management positions to owning their own business, working either in the public sector or the private sector, all different backgrounds and cultures. And we bring them all together and we go all over Gippsland and show people parts of Gippsland they may never see. Inside a power station, inside the hospital, we go to the local prison. We work through, we go to the local, to Walhalla last year, which is an old gold mining town. So it's about sharing Gippsland with everyone. So people from East Gippsland may never have seen South and West Gippsland and vice versa. So it's about showing everyone what a great place Gippsland is. And on top of that, we have a relationship with a company called Global Leadership Foundation, and they do a lot in the emotional intelligence space. So it's a real opportunity for people to grow as individuals and learn a bit about how they function, why they think a certain way, and why other people don't see the world the same as them. And then the last part of the program is that community project. So usually the group, the syndicates get an opportunity to do a project anywhere in Gippsland, but this year we decided that we'll focus all our attention on East Gippsland and have 5 community projects as a part of the fire recovery process.
Yeah. So it's an attempt really to grow a leadership, a leadership group or a leadership capability in the context of Gippsland.
100%. That's what it's about. It's about leadership capability and capacity and growing that and teaching people that as a 24-year-old, you can be a leader within your community, the same as a 51-year-old could be a leader in their community, and showing that there's all different ways to be a leader. You don't have to be up the front rah-rahing. You can be a leader at the back and just guide people through and be there to support people.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned the role in leadership, in particularly the context of facing adversity, adversity and adverse events. What do you think are some of the strengths of a regional rural community in generating this leadership to face those events? What do you think some of the strengths are that resonate there within those sort of communities?
Yeah, well, one of the advantages I think in the rural sector is that there's a lot of diversity. So people are used to that, and they can work with people with different backgrounds, different upbringings, and so there's a real opportunity within rural Victoria to lead the way on a lot of leadership things. We don't need to be waiting for government to sit back and make decisions. We, as community, we can make those decisions and move forward and bring the government along with us rather than waiting for them to show us the way. And there's a real void in leadership, I think, nationally at all levels, and part of our Gippsland Community Leadership Program and the other 9 regional leadership programs that are in Victoria is about building that capacity and empowering people to be leaders.
Yeah. What do you think at the moment, you sort of mentioned some of the gaps there, but what do you consider to be some of the gaps there currently in regional rural communities around this leadership question and capability?
I think it's, people don't feel empowered to have a voice. They're concerned that they'll get yelled down, or that people don't have the same priorities as them. But it's a matter of us listening a bit more and taking on board and understanding what the real concerns are in the community, and then being able to work through that and develop strategies for that. Obviously, things like domestic violence and youth unemployment, and generally from an economic point of view in regional areas, they're struggling. But collectively, working together is the only way we can fix that. And we need to talk about those sort of things. So we need to give people the opportunity where they can have a voice and can talk about the things that are worrying them, and then work out strategies around how we fix that. And one of the biggest mistakes we've made for a long, long time, especially at government level, is throw money at things and think it's going to fix it. That's just one part of it. We need to think about the human side of it. And it was interesting just speaking to some fire people from 2009 fires, and they said they were really good at rebuilding infrastructure, but they weren't real good at rebuilding people. And that's probably where we need to start with all of this. Build people, give people confidence, give them a voice, and give them things to be proud about, and then the rest will happen.
Yeah, it's an amazing program you described, and the values and mission of that particular program. And you sort of mentioned a bit about how it's currently been impacted by COVID-19. So what's some of the thoughts you've got at the moment about how to continue on what you're doing in terms of the program with this series of restrictions that you currently got?
Yeah, well, interesting. A week ago, we caught up online with the whole group. And so, as I said, 27 in the cohort this year. And just check in on everyone, see everyone's going, and talk about changes to our calendar. So, we had a program day booked in for the 22nd of April. And then we're off to Melbourne in May to Parliament House and actually to the Richmond Footy Club as well. But those things are all put on hold. So what we've done, we've pushed the program back into 2021 but that's some of our dates. But we're going to do a fair bit of online content over the next 2 or 3 months. And I think some of the stuff that we're working on is going to be supplementary to what they've had in the program previously. So this group could actually get a lot more than any other GCLP groups had in the past, because they're going to get the online content for a few months, and then we'll get back into hopefully face-to-face later in the year and into the new year as well. And look, some positives have come out of it already. Normally we have a launch and a graduation separately. So we've decided next year that we're going to run the launch and the graduation on the same night. So the new cohort's going to get to meet the graduating cohort as well. And we think that's, all positive.
Yeah. I think a part of it also is that they're actually living through this experience as well. Like there's a leadership cohort that's going through the program that's living through such a, quite difficult time. So I guess it's an opportunity to leverage off that really from a point of view, well, what do you then do in this context? I guess that could be the...
Yeah.
So we're developing an online channel to connect to regional rural communities, and we talked separately a bit about developing some pitch projects as well as part of the Gippsland Community Leadership Program. What's your thoughts around? Just talk a little bit about the pitch projects and ideas that you've been tossing around.
Yeah. So Franco, in the past, as I said, the cohort's been split up into 5 groups and 5 or 6, and they've been basically given a blank sheet of paper, some basic guidelines, but they've gone away and come up with their own community project from scratch and followed it right through to the end. This year we decided that to focus on East Gippsland, but instead of the cohort coming up with ideas on how they think they can help the community, we thought it would be better if we go to the fire affected areas and say, what do you need from us? And how does that look? So that's when we've come up with the concept of them pitch us a concept of a community project. We will work through a process with that, and we're just finalising how that looks like at the moment. But it'll be, a small written proposal, giving us a bit of background, and then a 5 to 10 minute online pitch, and then the cohort will assess that and grab the projects that they think they're capable of delivering. And that they're passionate about as well. That said, if we get 20 different ideas, we've got some opportunities through Regional Development Victoria and Bushfire Recovery Victoria to actually share these ideas with them, and hopefully those organisations have some funding available to be able to run with some of those other projects that GCLP might not have the capabilities or the funding to be able to do.
Yeah. So what sort of projects are we talking about? What do they range from?
Well, I'll give you an example. One of the projects last year, was sensory gardens put into retirement villages. So the syndicate went around to a number of different retirement villages and put in veggie gardens and sensory gardens, as I said, to give the cohort within those retirement villages opportunity to work in their own gardens or just go and enjoy it as well. Other programs have been around awareness around domestic violence, so how help people and employers work out if there's someone within their team that's suffering from domestic violence. There was also a youth mentoring program where we went out to the alumni, and the alumni, I think about 80 of our alumni put up their hand to be youth mentors for some of the youth programs in Gippsland as well. And there was one other project last year that was around mental health awareness, as where the cohort identified, or the syndicate identified, an area in each municipality in one of their parks where they designated the tree as a happiness tree, and people could go to those places and just spend a little bit of time relaxing and contemplating the world, I suppose. But it was all about awareness as well, and getting different organisations to work together.
That sounds great. There's a real real diverse number of types of projects, aren't there?
100%. Yeah, and the other one was Gippsland Trail Plane. They came up with a reusable shopping bag, which the retailers along the rail trail could sell and generate money to improve the rail trail. So it was about the environment as well as about raising some money for the shopkeepers along the rail trail.
Yeah, that's great. Well, hopefully we can try to channel that within the context of the online channel in terms of connecting with people to raise some ideas, and also we were talking separately about maybe using the online channel as a way of sort of putting webinars or material on around the leadership program as well. So
that'd be great. And if people want to come on the channel and pitch their idea to us, that'd be fantastic. And we can keep you updated on where we are with the projects, and what we've decided, which projects we decided to go with, and how they progress. Hopefully, we're going to get some additional funding to be able to film the whole process from start to end, so we can then have that to use as some promotional material moving forward. Yeah.
So maybe just some closing remarks, a bit about from a leadership frame about how we focus the next 2 or 3 months. Like, what's your bit of advice out to regional, rural community, or just broadly people impacted by COVID-19?
Yeah, well, I think it's a huge opportunity for us to, as I said, take a collective breath, think about what's really important to us, and then collaborate together to come up with how we make our communities better places for everyone associated with them. And one of the things I said to the cohort this year is that real leadership is shown in times of adversity. Very easy to be a leader when things are going really well, but when it tests your resolve and the way you respond, that's when we see real leadership. And I think what's been refreshing is I think we've seen that at a federal and state level recently, with the state and the federal government collaborating together. And I think that's the sort of stuff that, as a group, especially in Gippsland, because we're such a big area and have a real population spread, that we need to collaborate a lot more. And I think online is going to be that opportunity is right here, right now, because that's all we can do. So there's a real chance for us collectively to work with each other and remove any borders.
That's great. Well, thanks, Mark, for your time, and look forward to working with you on the online channel.
Fantastic. Thank you for the opportunity, Franco, and good luck with the channel.
Thank you. Thanks, Mark.